I'm Tom Silver, and I am your hypnotist this evening. And I want to welcome everybody to my wonderful webcast, Hypnosis Webcast, hypnosiswebcast.com. And you're welcome to log in if you'd like to log in. This way you can actually ask me personal questions. And we're here to really give everybody a wonderful education on hypnosis. And I'm going to tell you a lot about me, who I am, what I do, the different methods that I teach each and every week on Tom Silver TV, hypnosiswebcast.com. We're going to be having wonderful discussions about the science of hypnosis. And I'm going to be teaching you some amazing techniques. I'm going to be educating you. I'm going to be enlightening you. I'm going to teach you some wonderful, wonderful methods. And this is our first show that's going to start off this whole year of amazing discoveries into the wonderful world of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and even stage hypnosis. If you'd like, you can log in right now. Actually, you can log in. You can just use any username, put in your email address, and you can personally ask me questions. And I'll answer the questions right on our show. Because this is live, this is real. I'm not holding anything back. Because my goal is educating everybody into this wonderful science, this actual scientific process that we call hypnosis. So we're going to begin, and it's 7 o'clock, and I want to welcome everybody to my first show. I am so happy and so excited to be here today on Tom Silver TV. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and allowing me into your home so that I can discuss the wonderful, amazing techniques and methods of hypnosis. I hope all of you can see me well. If there's any problem seeing me and we need a little bit more light, why don't you send me a little text and just let me know. Now, I do have a few of my friends tuning in. I've got David from Singapore. David, if you're here, send me a little note right now. Maybe you're logged in right now, David. But why don't you send me a little note, maybe telling me if the picture screen looks good, if you're seeing me well, if everybody's seeing me well. Again, every one of you can log in right now by putting in just whatever name you want to put in and your email address, and you can personally ask me questions. I'll actually see questions coming from you, the viewers, on Tom Silver TV. So without further ado, I want to introduce myself. My name is Tom Silver, and I am a clinical hypnotherapist. I am a scientific neurological hypnotherapist. I also do stage hypnosis demonstrations. Yes, very clear channel. Thanks, David. David says the channel's clear, so everything's a go. I want to welcome all of my friends around the world, my friends in Indonesia, some of my friends out here in the United States. I want to welcome my dear friend David Toe and his family in Singapore, and people all around the world who are interested in learning about the science of hypnosis. What you're going to hear is the truth. It's real. I don't hold anything back because my goal is to educate every one of you so that we'll all be raising the bar on hypnosis and it'll gain acceptance throughout the world as a wonderful science that it is. But before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Some of you might be just tuning in for the first time and maybe don't know who I am. Some of you have probably seen me on different shows. But my name is Tom Silver. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. And I'm also a demonstrational or presentational hypnotist. Some people call that a stage hypnotist or hypnosis. But what I like to look at it is presentations where I can entertain, enlighten, and educate all at the same time. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been actually in the field of scientific hypnosis for about 26 years. And back in the mid-'80s, I studied hypnosis. I actually, just like most of you, I went to a hypnosis school to get certified in hypnotherapy. I received my hypnosis certification around 1985. I studied at a school out here in Southern California. And it was a school where we went through a year program. And during that year program, we learned quite a bit about hypnosis, about the basic foundation of hypnosis. What I call these days elementary hypnosis or very limited educational hypnosis. But it was wonderful because I learned about the science by observing and watching some of the greatest experts in the field of hypnosis back in those days. And I actually worked my way through hypnosis school as a cameraman. After I had left a business that I was in for a number of years, I actually found there was an opening in the school for a person to be on the camera to videotape all of these wonderful hypnotherapists teaching courses in hypnosis and also doing live hypnosis demonstrations on the students in the classes and having people come in and doing case histories on people suffering from all kinds of physiological, biological, psychosomatic disorders. Everything from stresses and tensions to fears to people that were addicted to drugs and pills. So anyway, during that year, I actually videotaped all of these wonderful hypnotherapists that were not just trainers, but life practitioners, people who have been practicing, having a hypnotherapy practice for 20 and 30 years. One of them was Bud Janowitz, Alan True from England. Some of you might know John Kappas and his brother Alex Kappas. Anyway, I worked with them and I videotaped a lot of their courses and became very close friends with those folks. Anyway, after about a year, I had enough credits to go through this program, which was a year program. And it was pretty inexpensive back then, but I went through the year program and I was certified as a hypnotherapist. And some of you have gone to these courses. You get certified as a hypnotherapist. You have a book that gives you all kinds of different scripts that they ask you to memorize, and you become script dependent. In other words, every client that you see, you basically read a script to them, and it's like one script fits all, which really isn't the reality of what we do in the field of hypnotherapy. But during that course, I actually became very dependent on those scripts. I also learned one hypnosis induction technique, which is one that I'm going to show you during the weeks. It's an arm raising technique, and it's one of two techniques that were taught to me in that whole year. During that whole year, we learned little bits of everything. Regression therapy, we learned some deepening techniques, all mild techniques, actually, all very light stages of hypnosis. And after that year, I graduated the school and I started seeing clients, and it was exciting, except I was dependent on a script, one script. So when the client would come into my room and they would close their eyes, I'd take this script out, like a piece of paper. I'd take this piece of paper out and I'd start reading this script. And I wondered, why aren't my sessions that successful on everybody? And that's because I became script dependent, like a lot of you are. So after that, I had a lot of opportunities. I realized that we were limited in the field of hypnosis because most of the techniques that hypnotherapists learned were based on techniques practiced over 100 years ago. Techniques practiced by Braid or Bernheim or Charcot, and they were kind of these wonderful methods that worked on some people, but not on everybody. So I knew I had a lot of work to do, a lot of research to do in the field of hypnosis. So I had a lot of opportunities that occurred, actually. After I graduated the hypnosis school and I started my private practice, I started working with people that suffered all kinds of different obstacles in their life, different limitations in their life. And I started practicing and getting better and better because it's the practice that makes you really good. Not just an education, but your life experience. And the practice is the most important part in anything that we do, folks. In any time you learn a technique, practice that technique. Don't just sit there with it and go on to another class, but practice and learn that technique. So I had a lot of opportunities. I started doing some demonstrational hypnotism. I was asked to actually be on a few TV shows and radio shows. A gentleman came in who was a salesman at a radio show company, and he had an eating disorder. So I helped him with that eating disorder, and he got me on my first radio show. It was called the Kevin and Bean Show at a station locally in Southern California, and it was called K-Rock. Anyway, I'll never forget listening to that station when I was coming in, and I'm hearing these guys putting me in the same category. This hypnotist coming in, we don't believe in that stuff. It's just like magic or psychic stuff or illusions or tricks. And they were saying this when I was coming in. But I knew about the science of hypnosis. I didn't know as much as I know now because I've been an explorer and a scientific tester, and I've created amazing new methods. But when I went in there, I showed some demonstrations that really made those two guys believers. Kevin and Bean became believers. I was on their radio show probably at least once a month for about 10 years, talking about the science of hypnosis, building up my private practice. I also started doing TV shows. One of the first TV shows I was on was a show called The Mike and Maddie Show. And they wanted me to take some people back to a past life, to do a past life regression, which we did the show, and it was exciting and real and believable. And that started to get me a little bit known here in America. I did a show called The Home and Family Show, and I hypnotized a gentleman who's the president of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. His name is Alan Rosenberg, and I helped him with his golf game. I helped him with a mental sports block that he had, and I also helped him to stop smoking on that show, and also to take control over eating sweets. You know, as hypnotherapists, we work with a lot of people to empower them to create these wonderful changes in their life, to kind of integrate their minds together so they have more mind power. That's a goal that we want to do as hypnotherapists, is put people in control of their lives, not get them dependent on us, but create mind independence, freedom in their life, that they're able to reach their goals. So anyway, as I started doing all this work, I got approached by an agent that asked me if I'd go to Taiwan to be the first hypnotist to hypnotize people in Asia. They did not have hypnotherapists in Taiwan back in 1994. But I needed to create a method called translingual hypnosis. I needed to figure out a technique and method to hypnotize people through interpreters in a foreign language. And so I went to Asia, and for about a week and a half, 14 hours a day, I worked and worked on the formula, a code, a method of translingual hypnosis that I call interlingual hypnotic trance induction. So I actually perfected a method to be able to hypnotize people in their own language through an interpreter that could understand the English language but can interpret correctly the language into their own native language. And we'll talk about interlingual hypnosis during the weeks to come. It's real exciting because the methods and techniques of translingual hypnosis opens you up to do hypnotherapy around the world to people in any language, as long as you can find that person that can speak that language. But there's a few techniques that need to be understood to be successful at translingual hypnosis. While I was in Asia, I appeared on a number of TV shows. Some of you have seen those TV shows. My good folks and friends in Singapore and in Indonesia and in Taiwan and Japan and China, you saw these shows. One of them was called Super Sunday. It was a wonderful weekly TV show that had all these different celebrities on every single week. And in that show, actually, I was able to have, it was a 2-hour live show every Sunday night. And they gave me a half-hour spot every week to be able to show some amazing things, some life changes, maybe some spontaneous imagination and creativity, but to also be able to answer questions in the audience about hypnosis. So my goal was to educate people in Asia to accept this science. It was never even recognized or understood in Asia when I went out there. And I was actually the first hypnotherapist actually in Asia to be doing real lectures for the Police Academy, Taiwan Police Academy, the Buddhist Association, the Olympic Committee. I did outdoor events and lectures where I showed demonstrations, showed some creativity, but also educated people on hypnosis. And a lot of times what I was doing with the people in Asia was getting them to express more, to feel more. How many people repress your emotions? You hold things in. I was helping them to get in tune with their feelings. And I think that was really important and very successful. So I was doing a lot of TV shows. In 1995, I set a world's record. I actually hypnotized 3,800 Chinese people through an interpreter in Mandarin Chinese at the Taipei Athletic Stadium. I hypnotized them all at the same time. I gave them suggestions of just feeling happy, feeling confident, smiling, actually, loving life. And there were times where literally, I would say, almost 100% of them went right into hypnosis. It was an amazing method and a technique. And I did 38 shows. I was in a world record show with other people who had world records, world record holders, sword swallowers, a person that actually could lift a car on his head, John Evans from England, who was a wonderful gentleman. So I got a chance to actually set the very first hypnosis world record. 3,800 people hypnotized through an interpreter in Mandarin Chinese. And actually, everybody signed a document and it legally approved that this was the first world record in hypnosis, translingual mass hypnosis. Also, during that time, actually, I was approached by the Taiwan Department of Defense, the Taiwan government. And they were working on a weapons procurement scandal and a murder of a colonel of the Taiwan military, a gentleman named Colonel Ng. And he was murdered. It involved $2.8 billion. It was a weapons procurement scandal. And they had reached the dead end. They did not have the information to help them gather evidence to find the missing pieces to this case. So in 1995, I was approached by the Taiwan Department of Defense, the Secret Service, the head of police, the head of the government technology, and they asked if I'd work on this case, and I declined it, actually, because, you know, I wasn't a forensic hypnotherapist. You know, I was a hypnotherapist, and I did demonstrational hypnosis, but I continued to perfect new methods. I was creating very strong hypnosis induction techniques. A lot of those I teach in my training courses around the world. So I developed these techniques to be able to bypass the conscious mind and get a person very receptive into hypnosis. You know, some of you hypnotherapists, you might find that sometimes you can't hypnotize a person, or it takes you forever to get them into hypnosis, or you're doing that progressive relaxation over and over and over and over again, hoping to hypnotize that person, but they're staying still too conscious. So I developed these techniques, these interactive hypnosis techniques that I call rapid, physical, instant, and shock induction methods. And when I say shock induction, I'm not talking about someone being plugged into electricity. I'm talking about a technique to stimulate the central nervous system and to get a person very receptive into hypnosis. Science. I am a scientific hypnotherapist, so I always like to tie science into what I do. And that's why I teach these scientific courses around the world, because I want the hypnotherapists out there to understand the science of this mechanism that we call our mind, which is within this organ that we call the brain. So anyway, I declined their offer, but in 1996 they asked me again if I would try to help them out. It involved $2.8 billion. It involved weapons procurements of these French frigate fighters from France. It involved the murder of a wonderful procurement officer, Captain Ng, who was going to be promoted to a general, and the government was at a dead end. They had people in prison. They had also active military procurement officers that they suspected might know something, but they weren't giving out the right information, or they weren't willing to discuss what they knew. And memory is real tricky. We're going to get into that. One of the weeks we're going to have a whole discussion on memory, conscious memory and subconscious memory, and what really the different aspects of conscious memory really are. You know, you can have 10 people who have witnessed an event or a crime. All of them look at that crime a week later being interviewed, and you might have 10 completely different descriptions of what the person looked like, what clothes they were wearing, what the purse looked like. But hypnosis actually is so powerful that we'll talk about this, but we can bring out some very, very true, accurate memory. Gary, thanks a lot for asking this question. Where can I buy your books and DVDs? I'll show you some of my books and we'll talk about those today. Again, I'm not here to sell you anything, folks. I'm here to educate you and to kind of give you these ideas, my hypnotic opinions. That's all they are. If you learn from them, if you can embrace some of them, that's great. If they don't fit into your repertoire of your training or techniques, that's also fine. I just want you to be open to this stuff, because this is the first time I've actually been able to actually be giving people around the world for free amazing information about my life adventure and the techniques that I've helped to create, and some of them that I've helped to even perfect further. So we'll get into that, Gary. Thank you. So anyway, they asked me to come out to Taiwan again in 1996. In 1997, in January, I went out there to work with some of the imprisoned military officers and active procurement officers, and I developed these very powerful techniques to hypnotize people very deeply and to access, through a regression process, take them back to the event to get the most accurate information, the memory. I actually even created a what I might call a biological lie detector. And that lie detector was tapped into the central nervous system. And we'll get into details on forensic hypnosis. In fact, I did write a book based on my work in Taiwan, the how-to book of forensic hypnosis investigation, solving crimes with hypnosis. It's a wonderful book, and if you're interested in forensic hypnosis, it has techniques and methods. You know, I don't like to hold things back because I think our government, police forces, different private agencies, investigational agencies, they should embrace this as a wonderful tool. Anyway, I was very successful in January. I went home. I thought that was it. I can go back with my life, my hypnotherapy practice, helping people lose weight, removing fears, stopping smoking. But I got called back again in July. So this time I went back in July. I can only see half of the chat box. Okay, so we have a person that can only see half of the chat box here. Maybe you could try a different server right now. I'm on Firefox. Maybe you can try a different server and see if that helps. And we'll try to clear this problem up next week. Actually, you should be able to just see from my waist up. Anyway, I went back in July, and again, I was very successful, and I was awarded a gold plate of honor, actually, from the Taiwan Department of Defense for my work in activating the most accurate, truthful memory. And then I went back in 1999 again, and I even did some more work in validating the information that was given to the people that were doing the investigation. And we'll talk about a hypnosis team and an investigation team and how to really conduct the proper forensic hypnosis investigations later on in the future. I don't know if some of you know this or not, but the Texas Rangers actually also utilize hypnosis. The Texas Rangers, you know, John Wayne and all that kind of fun stuff. But hypnosis is a wonderful science. Anyway, I also, when I came back, there was a big earthquake in Taiwan, so the government had me release a CD called Reborn from Disaster, which helped traumatize soldiers, and we'll talk about post-traumatic stress disorder during the weeks to come. We got a lot to talk about, believe me. We'll never run out of information and techniques and methods and knowledge and some of the exciting things that I've actually done in my life that I want to share with all of you as friends. Okay, David, are you going to talk about the powerful ERT today? Yes, I'll talk about that. Okay, so real quickly, I've been on a number of TV shows. I've had my own CBS special. I've been on Montel Williams, The Ricky Lake Show, The Sally Jesse Raphael Show. I've been on Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Man Show, the Fox Special Powers of the Paranormal, Ultimate Revenge with Ryan Seacrest. I was on a show called The Other Half with Dick Clark and Danny Bonaducci, and a show called Beyond with a psychic named James Van Prague, where I removed fears and phobias. And that's one of my specialties, fears and phobia removal. But I have a wonderful technique that I've developed. Thanks for asking about it, David. It's called emotion replacement therapy, ERT. Now, over the past number of years, I've been teaching advanced scientific neurological hypnotherapy courses around the world. Last year, I taught a course in England. I taught a number of courses back in 2003 and 2005 in Bath, England, and London. On one of the courses, I took my great friend Orman McGill with me to teach. Orman McGill was a personal friend of mine for over 10 years, and we did a lot of work together in scientific hypnosis, and we wrote a lot of books together. In fact, one of the books that we wrote was my first book that I had published. Some of you have it out there, and it's called The How-To Book. Let's see if we can get a glare out of there. It's called The How-To Book of Hypnotism, and hypnotically how to do what we do. Let's see if we can get that cover there a little bit here. Okay, and this book was written by myself and Orman McGill back in 1994, and it's a wonderful book. It's no longer in print, but I'm going to be putting this book out on CD. So those of you who don't have this book, it's going to be coming out on CD, and I'll make it available to everyone who's interested in it. I have wonderful techniques in it. Orman has techniques. I have methods on how to set up a hypnotherapy session. I have actual scripts for all different types of therapies. So this was my first book, The How-To Book of Hypnotism. Okay, and so I've developed a number of techniques over these 25 years, 26 years. One of them, what is your greatest achievement so far? I would say every time I help a person, you know, remove a fear or a phobia or a negative addiction, drugs or alcoholism, that is an unbelievable, wonderful achievement. When I can help a person let go of something that is tormenting them for years, That's the most important achievement. I mean, I could talk about the TV shows, and I could talk about a lot of different things, a lot of the fun and amazing things I've done. But I'll tell you something that just happened to me last week. I was working with a young girl, and she had a panic disorder with her mom's feet for 6 years. You know, and we're going to talk about fears and phobias too. We're going to have a whole night talking about fears and phobias and what doctors and psychologists do and what we do as hypnotherapists. And we're going to talk about how ERT, emotion replacement therapy, is the most powerful, amazing, scientific, neurological technique to delete and remove fears and phobias and strong addictive disorders. You know, there's so much to talk about. I know we're getting questions coming in right and left from people. And so if everyone could just kind of hold on. We've got a lot of weeks. We're going to be discussing a lot. We're all going to become great friends. But I want to just talk about some of the things we're going to be talking about this week. Okay, so I'll show you the rest of my books, actually. My most recent book is a book on death and reincarnation. It's called Never Fear Dying Again. I actually have in this book actual transcripts of past life regressions. I actually have techniques, methods and techniques on how to do regression therapy, early age regression, past life regression therapy. And this is also a very spiritual book. I wrote this book for people that were terminally ill, to give them a little bit of hope and excitement about, you know, what occurs maybe after we die. So this is a wonderful spiritual book, but it's also a great book for hypnotherapists because I go through many, many different techniques of conducting early age regression and past life regression. This is one of my favorite books. This is also a great favorite book of Richard Nongard. In September, I'm teaching a course with my pal Richard Nongard in Houston, Texas in September. It's the first time we're going to be together. But he tells me that he always talks about things and goes through this book in his training courses. And this is called the Hypnotism Training and Techniques Manual. And it also has questions and answers of hypnosis. It has a lot of Orman McGill's special techniques. Folks, most people look at Orman McGill as just the stage hypnotist. Orman McGill was one of the most enlightened, profound hypnotherapists I have ever met in my entire life. Orman McGill has methods and techniques that are astoundingly, amazingly powerful. I have another question. My chat box is updating, okay? Maybe problem in your end, John. Oh, okay, good. So maybe it's just not me. Thanks a lot for that comment, Lechita. Okay, great. We're getting a lot of people tuning in. Again, I'm not trying to sell you books. I'm just showing you things that I've done. This is a great book. I came out with 4 books that was co-written with my interpreter in Mandarin Chinese, and these were all hypnotism books that also were written by Orman McGill. But let's get back to talking about hypnosis and what we're going to be talking about in the weeks to come. The purpose of this show, and this is important, folks, the purpose of Tom Silver TV, the purpose of Hypnosis Webcast is to give you real information, real techniques and tools that you can use in your own practice, as well as to educate you on many aspects of hypnosis so that you will be able to explain hypnosis more scientifically than probably 99% of the people that go through some of these schools and programs. Because most schools really teach you basic elementary methods. And most schools are taught by what we might call textbook teachers, someone that's gone through a training course, an NLP training course, and now they're a trainer, but they haven't had that life experience. So you get an opportunity with Tom Silver TV to actually learn and be open to techniques that I've developed over 26 years. And the purpose of this TV show, the purpose of my webcast, is to teach you methods, techniques, even some of my secrets, so that you'll understand everything. Now, do you think Pat Collins had a positive effect on hypnosis? I can't really get into that right now, but we can talk about some of the other demonstrational hypnotists. And we're going to even talk later on about doing group inductions and techniques. But this is what we're going to be discussing in the weeks to come. We're going to be talking about ERT, emotion replacement therapy, which is my scientific method that I utilize and I teach around the world. And it doesn't have some of the confusion words that sometimes people find with hypnosis. You know, we're still trying to educate people to understand hypnosis as a real science. But I think sometimes when we use the word sleep and trance and certain words, we might confuse the general public about really what this science is. So we're going to be talking about ERT, emotion replacement therapy, and what you can use it for in your own private practice. We're going to talk about hypnosis safety. This is important. I co-wrote a safety program with a few other hypnotists out here in America on demonstrational hypnosis safety. We got someone... let's see, never mind. Okay, so other people are chatting there. That's great. So we're going to talk about hypnosis safety. We're going to talk about fears and phobias. What a fear is, what a phobia is, what the difference is, how medical doctors utilize fears and phobias, how they help clients overcome them. What do psychologists do? What do psychiatrists do? What methods and modes of operation? What types of specific fears and phobias and social fears and phobias are? We're going to talk about what are panic disorders, because fear, phobia, and panic disorder and panic attacks are different things. And we're going to discuss all of that during the weeks to come. You know, I kind of wish that I was on this show all day long and that you could just tune in all day, because I really don't want to wait till next week. I want to give you this information now. But we're going to talk about fears and phobias. We're going to talk about habit control. I work with a lot of people that come to see me that are addicted to chemicals, to drugs, to crystal meth, to crack cocaine, to alcohol, and I've had tremendous success in removing it. Are you interested in asking how, what percentage of people can you put into deep hypnosis? Okay, with the techniques and methods I've developed, I would have to say I can put at least 80% of the people I hypnotize into very deep hypnosis. If somebody says they're 100% successful in doing a certain therapy or an induction, I would tend to think that they're a little carried away with themselves. Because the fact is, you want to be successful in the highest percentage of people that you can work with. You know, most hypnotherapy schools say only about 20% of the population can actually go into what they call somnambulism, which is the very deepest stages of hypnosis, as you know. But with the techniques that I've developed, and I've developed some amazing new techniques like Jolt, Nuclear, Zap. These are some really amazing physical energy techniques that I've developed. I can produce very deep hypnosis, and at least 80% of the people that come in to see me. My success rate is very high. It's not 100% because I don't believe anyone is truly 100% successful in everything that you do. But if you have the right intent, if you have the right methods and techniques, you will be helping your clients. So we're going to talk about habit control. We're going to talk about weight control, the different types of eaters there are out there, and different processes of hypnotherapy to help people who have certain weight issues or motivation issues, or that people who hate going to the gym. We're going to talk about training people to think differently, to be the operator of their mind versus their mind operating them. And this is a very powerful information that I'm going to be giving you and sharing with you folks. We're going to talk about stopping smoking. Some of the best, most successful methods to help people stop smoking. We're going to talk about the history of hypnotism, public speaking anxieties. We're going to give you techniques on that, on reducing pain, producing neuropeptides. Did you know that the Mail brothers, back in the early 1900s, the Mail brothers brought in a whole bunch of hypnotherapists to produce what we might call mental anesthesia, what we call neuropeptides, natural opiates to remove pain. Because in the early 1900s, 1 out of 400 people were dying of anesthesia poisoning, folks. 1 out of 400 people were having an abreaction and dying of the anesthesia poisoning. So the Mail brothers brought in these hypnotherapists to produce these natural chemicals, pain releasers, pain relievers, what we call neuropeptides, these natural opiates, to reduce the pain during surgery. And in over 1,500 abdominal surgical procedures, and a few thousand after that, no one died of anesthesia poisoning. And we're going to talk about some of the greatest hypnotherapists in the world who are the top medical doctors in Europe. We're going to talk about, of course, Mesmer, Bernheim, Labolt, Persiger, all of these wonderful, wonderful hypnotherapists. And we're going to talk about panic disorders. We're going to talk about performance blocks. I work with a lot of athletes. I work with a lot of actors and actresses. We're going to talk about pre-performance anxiety, removing sports blocks. The other week I had a young lady come in to see me For over 3 years, she tried to get rid of this sports block of tumbling. And with ERT in one session, it was removed. Her mother called me today, and this is the honest truth. Her mother called me today and said, my daughter is now, she is auditioning and doing a performance to get into college in the cheerleading, tumbling. She said, your therapy was the only therapy that really helped change her life. And that was one session. Remember I was talking to you a little while ago about this young girl who had this panic disorder, panic attack, seeing her mother's feet? Anyway, I did ERT on her last week. I got a call from a top psychiatrist in LA this week telling me that he could not believe the results. He said I cured her. I don't like to use the word cure. I deleted that emotional activity through ERT and replaced it. And he actually asked me to send him business cards. He's sending his granddaughter to me. He's recommending clients to me. And this is a psychiatrist. So I think the more we get into understanding the science of hypnosis, the better we're going to be. And we're going to talk about EEG. Because I'm a big believer in teaching all about the science of hypnosis. This year, I just want to let everyone know, and we're going to then go to some questions because I've already run through my half hour today. But just to let everybody know that I'm planning a few trips maybe into your country. In August, I'm scheduled to teach a course in Beijing, China. So I'm going to be bringing my scientific hypnosis, the Hypnosis Foundation, the EEG Hypnosis Institute, ERT, Emotion Replacement Therapy, and the United States Board of Clinical Hypnosis. We're bringing that to Beijing, China in August. September, I'm scheduled to do a 3-day hands-on training workshop with my good buddy, and that's Richard Nongard. Some of you know Richard. He's got his own web TV show. He's a great, great guy. So we're teaching a course together. And then also, I'm planning on going to Indonesia. I've already spoken to some of you folks out there. I've trained 2 of the top therapists in Indonesia already in my scientific hypnotherapy, and I'm coming out there to educate all of you. Anyone who's interested in going to that course, send me an email at tom@tomsilver.com. I'll give you the details. It's being set up right now through some of the different trainers in Indonesia. We're going to have a great course. I'm going to teach you everything. You're going to be an advanced scientific neurological hypnotherapist, and you're going to learn all of these techniques because I'm going to pass them on to you. Also, the end of the year, I'm planning on going to the Netherlands to teach in November and October with a wonderful friend of mine who I trained last year with a doctor out there and his staff. And then we're also going to Italy and to Germany at the end of the year. Now, let's just open this up to some questions, because I'm getting questions here. And I think he said 80% successful on the session. That's what I know. Okay. Are there any questions that people want to talk to me about right now? Because again, this show is also an open forum. I'm here to communicate with you. And I think what we're going to do next week, I've got a great idea, ladies and gentlemen, is next week I'm going to teach you some methods and techniques. And go into each week, I'm going to go into a different specific type of therapy for hypnosis. And we're going to also get into ERT and fears and phobias and everything else. And then at the end of our web TV cast, we're going to leave the last 5 minutes for questions. Are there any questions out here? Why do you use EEG? We'll get into that as a diagnostic tool, but it needs to be understood properly. And so I think that anything that you learn, you really need to be well educated so that you don't misinterpret what a neurological scientific device is used for. I think some people use these different trinkets. I know there are hypnotherapists out there that put headphones on with sounds and frequencies, the blinking lights, they have pre-recorded stuff. And I think the fact is you need to know how to work with people hands-on and not rely on any tools, but I will get into what EEG is, how it works. I teach those in my private training courses. Okay, what's the main difference between hypnotherapy and stage hypnosis? Are the inductions the same? The inductions can vary. Stage hypnosis, you show creativity and imagination. But remember this, if you can show creativity and imagination, you can help people overcome obstacles in their life. You can remove negative habits, you can remove fear, you can increase focus and concentration, you can help better their quality of life. We're going to talk about stimulating the immune system with hypnosis also, because I don't know if folks, if you know this, about 1.5 years ago, I went through cancer. I went through 8.5 weeks of radiation, but I used my mind at the same time. I was in a receptive state of hypnosis to stimulate my immune system so that I could maintain my energy, my vitality, my strength. And it was profound. The success was profound. So we're going to talk about using hypnosis also to stimulate the immune system. So demonstrational hypnosis, if it's done properly, you're educating, entertaining, and enlightening. The trouble is some hypnotherapists actually go overboard and they can create trauma. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the dangers of stage hypnosis in the wrong hands. Because I'm a big believer, anyone practicing stage hypnosis has to have a foundation in hypnosis and hypnotherapy safety. We're going to talk about the landmines and the different ab reactions that could occur in your session as well as in a show. Any other questions? Can hypnosis change my vegetable eating habit and also make me dislike eating potato chips? Emotion replacement therapy can. And I'm going to be able to explain that whole science. If any of you are interested in my courses, I do hands-on training. I don't bring students in to teach my methods. I teach my methods. But absolutely, with ERT, I can help you to let go of negative habits, negative desires towards unhealthy food, and to stimulate positive habits, positive desires for healthy foods, and motivation to exercise. When will be your next session? Every Monday at 7 o'clock, I want you to tune in. Every Monday at 7 o'clock, I want you to tune in. Because, again, I'm going to even teach you some of the methods actually right here on the internet. I'm going to educate you in so many things, and we're going to become all really good friends. Again, if any of you want to train with me, you can train with me privately. You can come to the courses. My website, is tomsilver.com or tomsilvertv.com. Feel free to send me an email at tom@tomsilver.com. Also, we'll have an outline of the different courses I'm going to be teaching around the world. If any of you want me to set up a training course in your area, in your country, call me and let's do it together. And let's go and teach these methods. I want to elevate hypnosis to a scientific acceptance, but to do that, we have to create scientific, academic education and understanding. We cannot go around with elementary methods, elementary techniques, and elementary vocabulary. We're not putting people to sleep. We're putting people in a receptive state of focused concentration. So we're going to talk about that. I always like your energy when you're talking about hypnosis. You're so sweet. Who is that? Blue Cools. Oh, cool. I've been doing this for 26 years and I'm always excited because I'm always looking to develop new things. I want to bring the future of hypnosis to today, but I want to give you all of the tools and techniques and methods so that you'll be able to help a high percentage of the people. You'll be able to communicate with medical doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. You'll be able to make believers out of the skeptics, and we're going to turn hypnosis into the science that it was meant to be. It is a wonderful science, recognized by the AMA, American Medical Association in the 50s, American Dental Association, American Psychological Association, but one of the most misunderstood sciences until now. Because I'm demystifying it and I'm explaining it scientifically and in terms that everyone can understand. We're going to talk about the hypothalamic limbic system, neurochemical changes. So it's really exciting. The last question. You are so excited right now. How can you not be excited? Folks, put passion in what you do. When you go see a client, this is my last word of advice for today, and then we're going to end our show. When you go see a client, don't be focused on the money. Don't be focused on trying to get them back week after week and month after month. Don't be focused on what you're doing after you're through working. Be focused in your mind on creating the results that will create the change your client has come in for. Put all of your passion, your energy, your focus, your determination in helping that client. That one tip right there will make you more successful. See the result even before the result is created. Have you ever done for the society? What have you done for the society? Well, what I'm doing for the society right now is I'm educating people in hypnosis. What I've done for the society was I've developed methods of forensic hypnosis to help prove that certain people are innocent, to get information out of people. What I'm doing for the society is I'm empowering people to even teach them techniques to stimulate their own immune system, to fight off disease, to remove negative habits themselves. So I think every one of us who are really care about what we do and see clients and really help that client is doing something good for the society. Remember, every time you help save a person's life, every time you bring some joy and happiness to your client, every time you remove that obstacle or that limitation in their life, you're doing something good for society, because that good that you do for that person, they're going to pass on to others. Okay. And I do a lot of free work. Someone asked me a question. I still see clients for free. In fact, the young lady whose leg was twitching, I worked with her for free. So I'll still see people who can't afford to see me, and I'll see them for free. Even when I'm traveling, I'll work with people. Years ago, I saw a gentleman in Minneapolis who was smoking. I got him off cigarettes. 3 years later, he survived a brain tumor because the size of his cortex had shrunk enough for the surgeon to remove the tumor. So he's living a wonderful quality of life that I was able to help him achieve as a gift. So I think sometimes we also, let's not forget, let's go out there and do good things for people. Not always be concerned about money. You can't take money with you, folks, but you can take within your heart the good things you've done to help other human beings and to save their life and increase their quality in their life. Thanks for your positive outlook. You are so sweet. Thank you so much. Thanks, Gary. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Anyway, this is exciting. I'm on TV and I've got my friends out there and I've got all of you folks out there around the world. I'm Tom Silver. I'm so glad you've tuned in. And every week it's going to be exciting. We're going to be on a roller coaster of techniques, methods, knowledge, information, and education. And I'm so glad you've tuned in, everybody. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. And go for greatness. You know, this is a wonderful science. It's a gift that we have. And it's a wonderful gift. And go out there and share this gift with others. And put your heart into it. Have the right honesty, integrity, and love for what you do. And I promise you'll be a great hypnotherapist. Do you think web hypnosis works? Absolutely. We'll even talk later on about the Skype sessions. I might even show you some of my techniques that I've done on Skype. Interactive techniques with my inductions. All right. Hey, John, thank you for saying thanks. All right, everybody. It's Tom Silver. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you all for being here and being part of the show. So thanks so much, and we'll talk to everybody next week. Alrighty? Take care. Good night, everybody.